what's our June going to look like? Oh my gosh, and I immediately have to snap myself out of it because I know it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to take, as long as you do everything that you can do to make it be the best that it can be.
Yes.
And be as authentic as possible. Mm-hmm. It's all going to take care of itself.
This is the Main Street Reimagined podcast, a show for people ready to turn visions into realities and ideas into businesses. Hey, I'm Luke Henry, and each week I lead conversations with Main Street dreamers who took the leap to launch a business, renovate a building, or start a movement. Their ideas, their mindsets, and their inspirations, as well as some of the highs and lows along the way. This is a place for dreamers, creators, developers, and entrepreneurs to learn, share, and be inspired to change your community through small business. Enjoy the show. Hey friends, this is the Main Street Reimagined podcast. I am Luke Henry, and I am so glad that you joined us again this week for another episode. I'm excited for this one. I am thrilled to have in the studio today Dan and Amy Smith from McConnellsville, Ohio. So they were traveling and stopped to see me, to return the favor when we went down and visited them, and just dropped in on a random Tuesday afternoon or something. And Amy was so hospitable, gave us the warmest tour and download of all the things going on in McConnellsville. So thanks so much for being here, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry we look a little tired and haggard.
Hey, you're like on vacation, which I understand you don't get very often in your line of work, and we'll talk about that. But I'm thrilled that you came to spend the afternoon in Marion, and so we just finished a walking tour of our downtown here, talking about some of our projects and some things going on in Marion and what our journey has looked like. And, lots of, we really enjoyed our visit to McConnellsville. It's been, I don't know, I think it was last spring, probably around this time. Yeah. And my wife, Lindsay, and I came down, and we had seen in Ohio Magazine, so McConnellsville earned a very nice award. Yeah. And that was what drew us to the area. So talk a little bit about that real briefly, will you?
Yeah, so last year we had the honor of being Ohio Magazine's best hometown for Southeastern Ohio region. Mm-hmm. And it was a wonderful honor, and it's brought a lot of people through McConnellsville because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, it worked to bring us in. So Ohio Magazine is a publication here, obviously, in Ohio, and they select each year 5 best hometowns in like 5 different regions.
North, South,
of
East, West, and Central. Yeah,
there you go.
5.
Yep. 5 different regions in Ohio, and McConnellsville won for the Southeast region, and it's a lovely. Charming little downtown there, and right nestled kind of on the edge of the downtown is the Inns at 8th and Main, which is your business. So if folks have not been to McConnellsville and they are walking down the sidewalk and see this charming little corner like we did, what would they find if they walked in the front door?
What would they find, Dan?
Well, they would find two historic homes. Yeah. One we lovingly called the Stone House, which is all made out of sandstone, big 2-story, about a 5,000 square foot structure, built
which
in 1835.
1835 maintains.
Yes, right.
And beside it is another one built in 1844, which has gone through many changes, and but it's
the Morris House. So the Stone House. We actually took it back to its original roots. It was actually built as a stagecoach and tavern house back in 1835.
So cool.
Yeah. And then the house next to it, the Morris House, actually has roots tied to the Morris Hardware, which is on Main Street, which is one of the, I think it's like the 3rd oldest family-owned hardware store still.
Right. What generation are they on?
Sixth.
That's what I was thinking.
Tom's on the 6th.
It's incredible.
And the Morris House was actually built by the Morris family and it was built originally as a duplex. And George and Margaret, the parents, lived on one side, and their daughter Maria lived on the other side. And they were actually tinsmiths before they started the hardware store. And so we have original pressed tin work in the house. So
Yes.
it's pretty cool.
Gorgeous place. So it is today a bed and breakfast that Dan and Amy operate, and just very cool. Tell a little bit about. So you've got different rooms, kind of different themes, and it's a bed and breakfast. This is not an Airbnb. This is a real bed and breakfast.
Yes.
Dan dons the apron every morning and prepares a fresh breakfast, right? And so it's quite an experience.
Yeah, it's we're a traditional bed and breakfast. We're traditional so much on the fact that Dan and I live on site. Originally, we lived in the stone house, so we actually lived amongst our guests. And recently, I guess it was about a year ago, we moved over into the Morris house and kind of had a little bit more of our own space. But we greet the guests when they come. We make sure they're situated. We make sure that they know where to go to eat. We make sure, if they're looking for things to do, we're here to help basically be their private concierge service. And then Dan fixed a great, amazing breakfast. But with that, just let everybody know that I know how to cook too.
Yeah. So how many suites in total are there?
5.
5, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 of them in the stone house. Now we have 3.5. We just created a bonus room that the 2 upper suites, whoever would lease it first, but if they need an extra bedroom, they have this bedroom they can rent, and they would. It doesn't have its own bathroom, and they have to use whatever room rented that room as a bonus room. But it's unique. We just got it done. Haven't
That actually
rented it yet.
was our room.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was
I was
actually-
going to say I don't remember that when we toured.
Yeah.
It was actually our room. And I think when you were there, we actually had an assistant and keeper living in too. So we
Yes.
kind of changed all that.
Okay.
And then in the Morris house, it's a duplex. So on one side we live, and where originally we had the antique store, as you know, we unfortunately had to close that. And then so Dan and I took over all that whole space. So it's kind of weird for us to go from like a really tiny bedroom to like a whole entire apartment. And then on the other side, we have 2 rooms upstairs, and those are what we consider our extended stay rooms, because we do get a lot of guests in that come, especially business travelers that'll stay for 7, 8, 10 days at a time. We get some people that come back to visit friends and family, and COVID has changed a little bit how people travel, and it's still kind of like that. They don't like to stay at houses of families. It's just it gives people more space. And then we actually do have a first floor tenant that we acquired when we got the buildings, and Helen's in her late 80s.
Oh my goodness.
And so it's just kind of nice having her there in case the rooms are empty for a little bit. So
Yeah. So I have a lot of questions I want to dig into. Some I kind of think I know the answer to because we've talked before, but some I don't. But I'd like to start first for the people that are like starting to listen to this and thinking, gosh, I didn't know that people still own bed and breakfasts. And like, how in the world did they get to this point? So I'd like to rewind a little bit and kind of talk about, some of your past history and what sort of led up to having this, and this really being, at least for Amy, you're pretty much full-time gig. And
it's pretty much Dan's full-time gig. I kind of have to reel him in. But when we travel, a lot of it is we're always looking for experiences. So traditionally, when we would travel, I used to travel a lot for business, as did Dan. He obviously didn't stay in the same places that I stayed in, but because it was a different business type. But I stayed in a lot of B&Bs. I would stay in a lot of boutique hotels because that was the industry that I was in at the time. It was furniture, hospitality furniture. And mine was more of that side. But that's not really how it wasn't one of those things that, because we get guests all the time that say, oh, I'd love to be an innkeeper. That's not how this all happened, is it?
Yeah, we weren't looking to be innkeepers.
No.
It kind of came to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of, the really cool, unique story of all this is that we're not from McConnellsville originally. We're from up north. Dan's from Zanesville. I'm from Dresden. But my boys summered in McConnellsville. They grew up in the summers because that's where their grandmother's from, actually.
Okay.
But myself as a child, our school would play Morgan County School during like sports and football, volleyball, or whatever. And I played volleyball. And I can remember being a little girl driving through Main Street, downtown McConnellsville, and I would always gravitate towards that side of the building, or the bus, not the building, the bus. And I was looked at those buildings. And then the really cool part is that when we moved to McConnellsville and the job that I took, which was in the hospitality business, our building, our office was the first floor where our tenant lives at now.
Oh, wow.
And we actually ended up, when the Stone House, or what a lot of people, locals referred to it as the Christie House, when it was put on the market after Mrs. Christie passed, we actually had went in and looked at it. And we ran. We ran fast.
Lots of work.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. It hadn't probably been touched in probably since the 70s.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
And I'm sure you've taken some old wallpaper off.
You're right. Yes. Oh, yes.
And we had recently been married, and I was traveling, and it wasn't a point in our life that we were ready for.
No. So we went right past that.
So we went right past that. And then walked in my boys.
Okay.
And they followed us back to McConnellsville. My youngest son graduated college from up in Cleveland area, or my oldest son, I should say, graduated college. My youngest son came back from the Coast Guard.
Okay.
And they wanted to become real estate tycoons in Morgan County. I'm sure you can.
Okay. Yes.
It's a little bit different than what it is
I know
in
the
Marion.
type, right? Yeah.
Yes, you might know that type. And they actually ended up with the block of buildings.
Oh, so they
And-
bought those buildings.
They bought this.
They bought
Okay.
those buildings. They
Okay.
bought those buildings. And then our youngest son and his family lived in the Stone House for a while.
Okay.
And they eventually moved out. And then they're like, this isn't a house that you can turn into, and you've been in it, so you understand. It's not something you can turn into an everyday rental. And so they're like, my oldest was like, you and Dan should turn it into a B&B. And then our friends Dean and Jennifer, they took us to dinner, as Dan alluded to earlier, and kind of nailed the coffin the rest of the way.
Yeah,
What was that conversation like then?
they took us out to dinner and wanted to talk to us, and we had no idea why.
We thought one of them was dying.
But they were putting in a brewery. Started it during COVID, or just prior to COVID. They bought the building in 19, and they heard rumors from Amy's son that we were thinking about putting a bed and breakfast in, which we really weren't thinking very hard, but the thought had been there and planted. But anyhow, they said it would really be good because a brewery is a destination, and we need places to stay in this town. And excuse me, the town itself was starting to spin up. It was starting to get revitalized. Some new stores and younger people coming in to open up stores. So just the timing of it all was just great. So
Yeah. And then, but we opened in the middle of COVID, so I don't know if timing was that great. But in hindsight, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
I think we all are. I mean, it gave us the opportunity to ease somewhat into it. I mean, and it created its own challenges, and I think it made everybody become better about pivoting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, we like to talk about kind of the leap segment on each show when we can talk about, what if you can remember that moment, and it sounds like it was after this dinner with your friends opening the brewery.
Yeah.
And I imagine that you're either driving home that night or you're, sitting at home or lying in bed, and it's kind of like, what are you thinking? I don't know. What are you thinking? And
the joke is,
where did it go from there?
In this relationship, we don't leap. Amy charges through doors.
Okay, all
That's
right.
always been.
Run off the cliff.
Yeah.
I love it.
Just,
She kicks many, many doors open.
yeah, I'll let you tell your side. You go ahead.
Tell the real side.
The real
Dan said no. Amy said yes, so they compromised
well,
and
I
did
think
it.
after we had the conversation with Dean and Jennifer, we were pretty much. Dan and I love antiques. I mean, you've been in the house. Dan is an amazing Finnish carpenter. So we had already had that. He has his own business. I had kind of a little business going with my accounting world. And so it's like, why? What's one more business?
And we thought it would be a weekend.
Yeah,
gig.
and we truly did. We thought that
Gotcha.
this would be a weekend gig. We thought that, and we love to travel. And being that the one business was keeping us grounded, this was a way that we could bring people to us. We could meet people. We both together love entertaining. And then in the beginning, it was really much. It's funny how naive we were, because in the beginning it was just like, we wanted to preserve the house, we wanted to preserve that block, and we started with the stone house first, and that was the big thing. And then when we first started, I don't know if I told you all this, I was just diagnosed with thyroid cancer when we first started, and so I pretty much I could do anything I wanted. All I had to do was ask, and maybe throw out cancer card, as we jokingly say amongst each other.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah. But Dan now trumps me on that. So, but anyways, that was the big motivator was, we didn't think about the cooking. We didn't think about the days that we would be tied to it. We didn't think about the housekeeping aspect of it. The laundry, the dishes. I couldn't wait till my boys moved out and all that went away, but now it's like come back like tenfold.
Right.
But we didn't think about any of that. It was more of decorating, and you get caught up in those design aspect of it.
Yeah, all the fun parts.
Yeah. And we didn't think about what we call the Amy and Dan factor. None of that until once we started, and once COVID got over, and we got through all that craziness and figuring out how to do all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty much after Dean and Jennifer.
That's the leap. That would have been it. And again, we thought, we could do this, and it would be.
Yeah.
We would live there. We had a place just outside of town, and thought, we could move in there and work on the place and start it going and open it slowly, which we did. But it took off, and then she keeps saying after COVID, we wound up having there's businesses, factories in town that have a lot of that are out of country factories.
Yeah.
And they started coming in. It was not even on our radar that they would be a client for us.
And it's funny, even without them, how many other businesses that are there. Just so many quirky things that happen through that little town that we were just. This has been a really weird year for us. I think it's because we're finally out of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of our business is business travel.
Right.
We get a lot of, we're busy on the weekends, but it's not crazy busy like it used to be during COVID. Everybody was trying to get out, and, you were 7 days a week, and especially afterwards. But now it's started to level off, and like any business owners, we we've changed.
Right. Yeah.
We've morphed with
You've
it.
evolved the business as the world has changed some. Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of alluded to during and after COVID, there was kind of all that pent up demand. So it sounds like you saw a lot of people just seeking out the experience. And what I think that, for our listeners, like what I've seen you do very well through social media, print advertising, your website, SEO, work that you've done is really sell the experience of coming and staying at your bed and breakfast. You've done a great job kind of cross promoting the other local walkable places, the brewery, restaurants, coffee, shopping. There's some really great ways that you've tied all that in, as well as local tourism with hiking and some of that.
With any business like ours, you're nothing without those businesses.
Right.
I mean, we all have a hand, in everything that we do. My boys were born and raised, and I grew up in Dresden, home of Longaberger Baskets.
Right.
My mom still lives there. My aunt still live there.
Yeah.
And so, Morgan County is completely different than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
and another great case study for creating a destination. They made baskets. It was a factory, but they created this whole experience around coming, and the place looked like a huge basket, which in and of itself was something you got to see. But But what's
funny about Morgan County is you had asked me kind of sort of to think about what makes us special. Our business owners make us special too, but our community is so supportive of businesses like ours, of all of our businesses. Our guests, one of my prime examples is we had a gentleman that came. He was from Savannah. He called me on a Saturday. I don't know if I told you this story. And he says, how can I get to Morgan County through public transportation? And he had just heard through a TikTok video we have a local gentleman that is a TikTok phenomenon. But he did a post about us being awarded best hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, sir, there's no really public transportation to get here. You'd have to, fly in, rent a car. And he goes, well, there's a problem with that. And I says, what's the problem? He goes, I'm blind. And I'm going, oh, okay. So I figured out, I'm like, let me think. Okay, we have a great transit, Morgan County Transit. They pick people up at the airport all the time. So I gave him the number, he made all that happen. But what was the really cool thing was how our local community embraced this gentleman. He was with us for a week. We celebrated his birthday with locals.
Oh my goodness.
He's walking down the street, and you've been to our square. Is it square? It's
Right.
not square.
No. Yeah.
With his blind stick. And people helped him get across the street. And that's really how truly every guest that says to us, they meet so many locals. And it's truly the locals that make us who we are.
Yeah. That's awesome.
They embrace the out of towners, which is really unheard of in a lot of places. So it's, they out of towners go into any of the establishments to eat or whatever, and they're all welcomed, and everybody says hello to them. And it's just,
in a small town, everybody knows everybody.
Right. Everybody knows that you're not from around here. Yeah. Well, again, we experienced that firsthand. And, we had stopped into the coffee shop there and got to chatting with Misty, the owner. And, we chatted with her for, 30 or 40 minutes. And she, in between, anybody else that walked through the door, she called them by their first name. Hey, Joe. Hey, Darren. What's, every single one of them. So we witnessed all this. And then she's like, of course, we told our story and that we were just visiting, just kind of studying downtowns. And she's like, well, you got to talk to Amy down at the inn and just walk down there and just tell her I sent you down. And, so we just show up at the front door and knock and, here's Amy. She's taking a charcuterie board up, I think, to one of the guests, and she's like, "Who are you? What? Yeah, sure. Yeah, just come on in, make yourself comfortable. I'll be right back." And I mean, so this is just a beautiful small town hospitality. I mean, it really is charming.
It is. And then, I mean, I know when we took the leap, the big thing for us is, and I alluded to this earlier, is Dan and I do basically everything we do is to make sure that we spend time together. And I'm sure there's days where he doesn't want to do that.
Well, you work long enough with your spouse, there's going to be a few of those
There's
days.
going to be a few of those. But for the most part, we wanted to make, it's the life that we wanted to create. And this truly allows us to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, we were talking about that as we were walking around town a little bit, and I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. And I think that some folks discount that as they're considering taking the leap into a new venture, whether it's a business like yours or a boutique or some other small business where it's like maybe the dollars aren't the same as an income that they're trying to replace, but the experiences, the richness of life, the balance, and the family time, and you've really kind of architected this lifestyle that's allowed you to do what you want to do.
I think in the beginning, I mean, because we started with the stone house first, and then we built out the Morris house like right after because of the business travel. Because we had the demand, and we knew that the demand would be short term. I mean, everybody did. Everybody knew there would be like a 3-year period after COVID, and everything would, kind of level down. But we had this, especially I guess it was this winter, early spring. We were letting the business run us. We were letting the business exhaust us, and as we said earlier to you, is we had stayed at a few places, had been to a few different, because hospitality is in so many different ways. Yeah. I mean, it's just not an inn or a hotel. It's a restaurant. It's a barbershop. It's
boutiques. I mean,
boutiques,
we talk about that. Yeah,
everything. There's, I mean, hospitality is everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, it's just not. But so we had a few friends that we knew that were in the hospitality business. They were just exhausted. And we never want to appear to anyone like that we're exhausted, which is why we just got off of our first vacation in 2 years for 6 days away.
Yes.
Because that's not what you want somebody to remember.
Right.
And you want them to come back. A large portion of our business now are repeat guests. And we experienced the friendship factor last year. My dad was passed away in an accident over Labor Day weekend. And we didn't know how to handle that because, as you know, our life is public. Right. And we've made it that way.
Right, yeah.
As much as Dan likes to be behind the apron scenes that we do, but our life is public. Yeah. So we had to figure out a way to, how can we gracefully step away for a minute to have a little bit of space and ask for that grace. And so we both agreed. I remember the night we were on the way back from the hospital. We sat at a restaurant and I crafted out something and said, we had this happen. This is where we're dealing with it. We need some time with our family, our friends. And I mean, the outpouring was just, it just took us away.
Yes,
from guests.
Beautiful.
From guests that stayed with us, cards, gift cards. I can't tell you because they were worried about us eating. They were worried about whether or not we were, getting enough food or so, we are so blessed with the friendships that we have truly developed through the guests that come and stay with us.
Well, I mean, you have such a unique experience that you're providing in a lot of ways, but you're essentially welcoming people into your home.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a real kinship that comes with that. But I would even go on to say, encourage listeners that are in, as you mentioned, I mean, hospitality is across all businesses.
That's true.
We're all being rated, whether overtly or not, on our level of hospitality that we're providing to
Some
our
people
customers
just call
and
it
clients.
customer service.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's truly hospitality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that really falls flat. I've shared before on the podcast that a friend of mine defines hospitality as we thought of you before you got here. And I think that's just such a lesson for any business to learn. I mean, we talk about in our landscaping business, like how are we showing hospitality to our clients? It's in how we're answering the phone and how we're responding to their messages and all of that. But you're doing it in a multitude of ways. And so anyway, it's not surprising that people felt like such a connection, and that's just so beautiful that they supported you through that really difficult time.
Yeah.
But I'd like to, kind of off of that, talk a little bit about some of the unique things that you've done that what I think are unique anyway. I mean, some things we observed while we were there. Talk about your coasters, talk about some of the other things that you display and kind of sell in the rooms, and some of that maybe somebody that has an Airbnb might want to, kind of rip and duplicate one of these ideas if they're not doing a full B&B, but it's just some ways that you show, these are the things that are really unique that make the experience memorable and that I think further endear clients to you. So talk a little bit about that.
You want to talk about Percy?
You start it. I'll jump in.
So when I was in the hospitality business, I used to work with designers from all over the world, and I would help them redesign or value engineer furniture. And I had a designer one time say, "Hey, I'm calling you because you can make pigs fly." And as you know, I have a theme of flying pigs throughout basically the entire end. And so when we moved into the house, Dan's like, "What are we going to do with these pigs?" And I'm like, "Well, we want everybody to have a unique, stellar experience. So he's going to be everywhere. And we want that reminder." And so we've taken that, and his name is Percy, and Percy is everywhere. As you just alluded to, Luke, we have these little wooden coasters that have a picture of Percy on the front, and it says, "We make pigs fly." And on the back, there's a little special note from Dan and I that we want the guests to take that home with them. It's something that we want their experience to, when they look at that, they think of us, or they think of the inn, or they think of McConnellsville. And so we have, there's probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 Percys probably in every room. And then actually I finally got around to a little project that I've been wanting to do for years. I actually have a frame of Percy with a little saying about who he is and why he's there, and that he wants them to have that elevated experience and that memory. So we have him everywhere now. He's on notepads, and he's on mugs, he's on T-shirts. We have flying pig socks. It's kind of, that's, everybody wants a flying pig.
Yeah. So it's we had a guest just in the last month or so come in, and they were talking about the coasters, and she says, "I almost have a whole set." And she's been back 5 times, I think.
Yeah, which is great. To me, which is awesome.
Right.
I mean, it's just a little thing, but it was, I love it when I go into a room after a guest is leaving, especially our business travel, and the coaster's gone. Because a lot of times the business travelers, as you know, the room never looks like it's been touched.
Right.
They're here to do their business. It's not like they're on vacation or anything like that. But so we do that, and there's just all kinds of, we always make sure we have a handwritten note in the room for the guests when they arrive. We have a lot of different add-ons, the charcuterie plate, and we have mugs and everything. But it's just it's really truly I think the biggest thing that we do for our guests is just to be present, to greet them, making sure that they have everything. I love it when guests come in and they're surprised because, we're in a small town and everyone's like, oh, I never thought that something like this would be here, but that's, and I know you have several Airbnbs, and don't get me wrong, because we stay in Airbnbs and we're staying in yours tonight, and I'm excited to do so.
Yes.
Have you seen the commercial about where it's the annoying innkeeper is like following him around?
Oh, that's
I forget.
right.
Yeah,
I remember that commercial.
Yeah. And it's not really like that.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I feel like, man, maybe we're not paying enough attention to our guests. But usually once they get there, and let me tell the world that all of our Airbnb does have private baths because
Right.
that's still kind of, like a miss thing.
That's the taboo in most people's minds is shared
Right.
baths.
You got to share a bathroom, right?
But our favorite time, our favoriteest time with our guests is after breakfast. That's what we call the golden hour. I'm going to cry. That's the time we, Dan does all the cooking, or he does the girl cooking. I don't want to say all, didn't you even go there, Smith? Dan does a lot of the majority of the cooking. I'll come up with the recipes. We always serve dessert first. We always use vintage plates, napkins, silverware. It's special. We want breakfast to be special, just like their room. We want that to be special, and we make sure all the little touches are in there. And that's one of the reasons why we went back to us doing a lot of the cleaning. I like I grew up in the era of Martha Stewart, so I like making sure that the bed's a certain way, the blinds are a certain way. There's chocolates. I like making sure. It's not that I'm a control freak. It's just that I want it to be special.
Yeah. And people feel that. Again, you thought of them before they got there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I love that.
That's true. I mean, that is totally true. Especially if it's a guest that stayed with us before, and I know that they like certain things, or they don't like certain things. And we have one business traveler. He stays with us 2 weeks a month.
Oh, wow.
He always has dark chocolate coffee beans in his room because I know he likes those. But
That's great.
But the breakfast time is truly special, and that's where we forged that relationship, and that's kind of why we went away with a lot of our one night stays on the weekends, because we weren't really getting the time with our guests.
Yeah.
And it forced things to slow down. So we went from having 10 to 15 people on a Saturday to 4 to 8. And so now it's really gotten back to that heart.
Yeah. So do you have a 2-night minimum?
We do, out of 3 out of the 5 rooms we do.
Okay. Yeah.
And then usually if we have the other 2 rooms where if they're rented one night, then I'll block the other night off. And then that really kind of slows, because we stay so busy through the week with business travel that it's just nice to kind of have that slower paced, and we're not, looking like a dog with our tongue hanging out.
Yeah. Well, I want to pull out what you said there and make sure I'm interpreting this the right way. But in essence, I heard you say we felt like we weren't giving the experience we really wanted to, and people weren't getting the maximum value of what we offer.
That's right.
And so we changed our offerings, and some people might be put off by that, perhaps. But I think that it's really bold when a business understands what they do really well and then can lean into that to say,
You're right.
listen, if we can't give you the experience we're really trying to give you, we don't want to give you any experience at all. Not that we don't want your money, we don't want your business, but we want you to have the real full thing.
Yeah.
And so let's still try to be friends, and maybe, we'll be able to serve you at some point when we can give you the full deal.
But you are like spot on, because that's how it was for us, because we were going crazy doing one night stays. And a lot of it, we were doing one night stays to just keep staff. And then it was just like, okay, why are we doing this again? But it does, because we were just like, we wanted this true experience. And how many times did we kept on saying, all we want to be is a bed and breakfast. And because during COVID, everybody was trying to do everything. Like we did dinners in the beginning.
Oh, okay. Right.
Which was crazy, because a lot of it was because we didn't know what restaurants were going to be doing. So we were offering dinners, and then we would we were trying to do events, and you know how crazy that can be.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, we have enough business being a bed and breakfast. Why don't we just get back to what we are good at and what we want to do? Which in turn gives such a better experience for the guests.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, are you doing any events anymore? Did you completely stop? I remember last year we had talked like you were still doing like a few like weekend something, getaway type events.
We just did a couple breakfasts. We just did a couple breakfast events, and after we did them, they were through the week, and they were for one of them was for our local prosecutor's office. We did 2 big breakfast events for them, and then another one was for one of the schools. I always say I'm never going to do them again. They're just...
Then the phone rings.
And then the phone rings, and somebody says, "Come on, Amy." We're not. Yeah. We're not in that. We advertise it if somebody calls, if somebody wants to do it, and we're there to help support. Yes. But for us, that's taking away from what we do good at.
Yeah.
And that's, being the bed and breakfast. Our favorite event that we do host is when a whole entire family comes to the house.
Oh, that's very cool. Yes.
That's what we like.
Right. Like from all areas of the state or country or whatever, and they kind of all rendezvous.
They come. Yeah. We have the Martins that come probably every year. The first year they came, Glenda and Dick had came and stayed with us during COVID. And for their 50th wedding anniversary, that's what Glenda wanted. She wanted her whole entire family to come and stay at the inn. They got married there originally, and they redid their vows. And Dick forgot his clothes, and Dick and Dan are about the same size. So Dick actually wore the same shirt that Dan married me in. So it was kind of cool. Hilarious. And then the following year, Dick passed away. But the family still came. And so, it's just those special moments when the house is filled with laughter. Yeah. We just love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really neat. What a richness. And obviously you get a lot of joy from what you do. And I mean, you can't put a price tag on that. No. You can't put a dollar of income on that. And I think that's, really worth noting.
Yeah. I mean, I won't say that there's not a lot of hard work that goes into it. 'Cause there is. And there's days that we do get tired, and there's days where I'll go to Dan and I'll say, I'm kind of done peopling for a few days, and he'll like find a place for us to go and relax, and we take off for a few days, and then we come back, and we but we do know that it's important that you have to be able to be ready to face everybody every day, and you have to do it in a manner that they'll want to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Interestingly, as you're talking about some of this, it reminds me, I just did a couple of episodes on self-leadership and self-care. And, what I hear you talking about is, not being able to pour from an empty cup, basically.
Amen to that.
Yeah, that you've got it, especially in your line of work. I mean, it's really almost 24/7.
Right.
And so you've got to be on, you've got to be available, you've got to be putting on a smiling face. And that's hospitality in general, kind of the show must go on type of thing. But you can only fake it so much and still give people that authentic experience, So you've got to
I don't
be
think
renewing.
I don't think the phase "fake it until you make it" is good because I don't believe in that. I truly don't. We listened to that podcast.
Okay. Great.
And yeah, I mean, like the whole entire time we were in Michigan, I took a nap every day, didn't I?
Oh yeah.
And I slept in.
She's getting her restorative health back.
Yes.
I was
That's
getting my
great.
restorative
Yes.
health back.
Yes, you've got to.
Yeah, because we actually, when we get home tomorrow, but Thursday we hit the ground running. We have a full house, and it's pretty much full for the weekend. And so, summer season's upon us.
Yeah, yeah. So shifting gears, let's talk about McConnellsville a little bit. So first of all, I mean, it's not even a city; it's a village, right?
It's a village.
It's a village.
It's a village.
And do you know about what the population is?
The county is about 14,000. The village of McConnellsville is about probably 1,700, 1,800, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's beautiful. It's very historic. It's been very well maintained. The homes are beautiful and pristine. Our business owner friends are awesome. They're the type of people that you can, if you need something, you need help with, they're right there. I know some of the things that we've been through. Even Misty, I know she's had a few plumbing problems, and Dan stepped in and helped Luke, and that's just we have right now. I was telling you that it's harvest season for lavender,
yes,
so we
that's
have so we have I don't know how many plots of lavender we have in town, but Nick and Mark, they have Bell Avenue Manor. So, and we actually, because of them, in August, we have a huge lavender fest. Last year, they had over 300 people on their block where their store and part of their lavender fields are lots.
First year. So
First year.
Oh, wow.
So we're all excited about this year. So we have our local Rotary does the Heritage event, and 2 years ago was the first time they took that over, and it's amazing. That's on the square. It won't be this year. It'll be in the Commons because our square's getting renovated after 4th of July. Right now, it's fun to watch social media because our town is really pulling together because we're trying to raise funds for the fireworks, which if anybody puts on fireworks, it's about $15,000 just to have. We have a phenomenal show, and it's great because it brings in business, to all the outlying area. The inn's full. We have a family that comes every year for the fireworks. They're from Morgan County originally, so that's been fun to watch all the businesses challenge each other as far as giving money and stuff like that. So it's a beautiful town along a beautiful river.
Yes.
Our locks were just redone. We got a new dam. Our locks are finally open. So if you're interested in locking down the river to Marietta, we get guests that do that from Zanesville and Coshocton. They'll lock down the river, and we'll pick them up, and they'll spend the night with us.
Yeah. It is very picturesque. Some views over the river. It's beautiful. But like you said, I mean, it's not huge. I mean, that's really remarkable. But a lot of the folks that we're talking with, are in at least larger cities than that.
Yeah, we have the craft breweries we've talked about, Old Bridge Brewing Company. They have great beer, great food, which is Ricardo's Italian Kitchen, which is a little odd mix
Yeah,
in
we
there.
visited there. Yeah, it is a great spot. Yeah.
Chatterbox
the food's
is, and the cool thing for us is that we have so many guests that just park and then just walk the whole entire weekend.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
The Big Musky Bucket, the Wilds is close by.
Okay.
The Wilds is about 30 minutes, which is part of the Columbus Zoo now. And so, there's this, and the cool thing with McConnellsville is we're 45 minutes in any direction to any major cities. We're close to Athens, we're close to Marietta, we're close to Zanesville, we're close to Lancaster. Parkersburg, yeah.
Just kind of nestled in there, a little bit off the beaten path, but again, I mean, there's just a richness once you arrive there, and a small town atmosphere and hospitality that's really fun and unique. I mean, it's a couple of things that that we observe there that are worth noting. First of all, I mean, again, the downtown is, I mean, it's only a handful of blocks, but I mean, it's robust, it's quaint. There's just so much pulling together, and that's witnessed really through the fact that there's no formal like Main Street or downtown organization.
No, there's not.
So it's literally just business owners helping one another, putting together events, working with, like you said, I mean, the Rotary Club kind of chips in and puts on this event, and you've got it's very organic. It seems like the way that these things are pulling together. But I mean, I saw signage and really nice public art that was coordinated with window painting displays.
Our Morgan County Art Guild is phenomenal. The summer is cool because we'll have the summer art walk, and they'll have I think it's $5. I think is the donation that you give. I think $5 or $10. I forget. And then they'll give you a canvas. They give you paint, and then they'll hang up. And then we actually had a couple of summers ago. We had a guest in from California, and he got up really early because he had like 3 paintings he wanted to buy. And so he went and purchased the paintings and took them back to California. So
put them in a suitcase and
put them in a suitcase, and
So then the proceeds go to the art guild. That's really neat. Yeah, and I mean there was really nice maps in the different businesses, and again, this was just a collaboration, and it was incredible.
And that, just like that was truly a collaboration. So we had a chocolate walk that Misty organized from Misty's coffee shop. And so from that money that was raised, she put that money aside to use for another project. Dan and I were in Hartville antiquing, and they had a really cool map. And I took the map back to Mark at Bell Avenue, and we're like, we need this map. And then, so we had this money from Misty, and then so that's just how it started.
Yeah. And again, I mean, regardless of whether it's a town of 1,700 or 17,000 or 50,000, these concepts are still the same. That there just has to be the collaboration between business owners and really looking out for one another. I mean, you said it when we were talking earlier that your experience is really nothing without all those other businesses being walkable, and their opportunities are diminished without you, and so it's just this beautiful symbiosis that happens.
Yeah, we had one of the companies that were in last year, and they were having their union negotiations, and the people that were staying with us were from the company, and the majority of them were from, I believe, Michigan, Detroit area. And normally they would have held their negotiations up in Zanesville, which is 40 minutes away. And so they wouldn't have even stayed here. They wouldn't have even came into the community. But because of and they were staying with us, they stayed with us. They had the meeting in town. So then they came back to us, and we were talking at breakfast how they had a completely different experience because they got to go shopping in the afternoon. They got to have coffee at the coffee shop. Yes. They experienced dinner here. And because of our little inn, if we didn't have a place for them to stay, none of those businesses would have shared in that. And that to us is the beauty of it.
Yeah. 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 I'm interested. You mentioned that you never expected business travelers to be one of your primary business lines. I mean, how did you get your first and your second and your third? If somebody's out there listening, thinking the same thing, how did that happen?
It's relationships.
Yeah.
It's forging those relationships, finding that right person. They kind of found us. HR departments are great resources for that. And just developing those relationships. Our one company that we work with a lot, we were supposed to, it was right after COVID, and we were traveling a lot just because it was easy. Not a lot of people were flying. But this was right after COVID when travel opened up. We were headed to Arizona. We were trying to go to Arizona. And I received a call that they were bringing in their CEO from Europe. And we're like, oh, well, we're going to be on vacation that week. And it's typical for us to let business travelers stay, especially repeat guests that know how the house operate, that kind of stuff. But so we're like, is this a big thing? And they're like, well, he's never stayed in McConnellsville before. We're like, oh, it's a big thing. So I called Dan and I'm like, what do you think we should do? And he's like, we should cancel. I'm like, oh my gosh, we already got everything paid for. We got our plane tickets. We got, So anyway, so we ended up canceling, and then we hosted him, and it was phenomenal. He was great. He was in for one night. But you kind of, because we are a small town at heart.
Yeah.
We truly are. I mean, yeah, we travel and everything, but you think of, oh my gosh, he's probably stayed in some of the most amazing places, and he's probably eaten some of the most amazing foods. And we ended up hosting, because we canceled our vacation, we ended up hosting a luncheon for them. And, it's like, well, what do you feed somebody that's, you know what you feed them? White bean soup.
Okay.
It's very Appalachian. You stay true to your roots.
Yeah.
You don't
I love
waver
that.
out of your, you don't waver out. And
Yeah, I love that.
But after that, I mean, we forged a really great partnership with them. We had an agreement with them. We house all of their out of town people. And so, but that's truly how it's in any business.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
still have to network.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and if you have a shot, you got to work to nail it. And I mean, let's not miss the fact that you canceled a vacation to host this guy.
We've never made it to Arizona yet either.
Yeah, we lost that whole vacation.
Yeah, we lost that whole vacation.
Yeah.
But that was our first business traveler. So then, of course, we have these conversations of, okay, what else is in town? Let's reach out to them, to their HR department.
Yeah, it's like the light bulb went off.
Yeah, and then we had somebody. There's two nursing homes in town. They had the director of the nursing home had either retired or left for whatever reason, so they had interim directors coming in with no place to stay. So they wound up with us, and it was just all these businesses that you didn't even think of would have overnight capabilities.
Yes.
And it's funny because you think we all have those moments of like, oh my gosh, how are we going to fill this? I mean, I'm sure yours is on a much grander scale than ours is, but we still have we all have those feelings of how are we going to do this?
Absolutely.
And then when you get somebody that comes in, and I mean, we had one gal that stayed with us for like 3 months, wasn't it? But there's always somebody else after that. There's always it just and I can remember, I don't know, a few nights ago I was looking at reservations, and because, everything's right at your hands anymore.
right.
We have that on our phone, and, I can make reservations from anywhere. But I think, oh gosh, what's our June going to look like? Oh my gosh, and I immediately have to snap myself out of it, because I know it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to take, as long as you do everything that you can do to make it be the best that it can be.
Yes.
And be as authentic as possible. It's all going to take care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's perfect. Well, that's a great way to kind of land the plane here. I could sit here and listen to your stories for hours. I'm sure you've got an amazing, just one after another of all the different people that you've hosted and the stories. And we shared some incredible ones there along the way. Really inspirational, and just appreciate what you guys are doing. And it's so cool. I'm glad that I got to see it. I'm glad that you got to come and visit us here. It's been great. We've kind of, stayed in touch through, since our visit there. And so to be able to see, in real life, both of what we're working on is fun. So we're looking forward to coming back down and staying. We kicked ourselves all the way home that we had, not made overnight arrangements. We didn't have any of our stuff, or we literally would have, we went to Marietta after McConnellsville for a while, but we were like, man, we would have in an instant, canceled any hotel to come back and stay with you. But
anytime.
But we will. Yes.
And we do. We just love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's obvious. And I mean, it comes through in the brand of hospitality that you're offering, and just the small touches and homey feel there. So if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, well, we found out where our next road trip's going to be. Let's make sure that they know how to find you and how to make a reservation and all that stuff.
Well, you can find us by visiting our website at inns@8thandmain.com, or just Google McConnellsville, places to stay in McConnellsville, and we'll pop up number one usually.
List, right? Yep.
It's a short list, but we do have state parks near there, so there's lots of hiking and outdoor stuff too if you like to do that. But you can book online. We have all of our rooms listed on there, and you can always just we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook.
They're a good follow. It's they're fun to watch some of the escapades. As you said, you guys are very kind of open about what's going on, and make it fun, kind of seeing behind the scenes and some of that.
We do. Dan loves it, don't you, Dan? I make him do some things, but follow us along for fun, and we're looking forward to our stay in here in Marion tonight.
Yeah.
We as I told you, we popped through and ate at Ray Ray's on our way to Michigan, and so tonight we're looking forward to eating some Italian.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be great. So yes, we hope that you'll enjoy your stay and give us your feedback if there's ways that we can continue to improve, and we all get better together here. So
that's right. That's what it is. That is perfect to end on, better together.
Yes.
That is so true.
Yep. Well, thank you again, Dan and Amy, for joining me and for sharing some of your experiences. This has been a lot of fun for me. I've been looking forward to it. To our listeners, thanks so much for tuning in again. Really happy that you were here, and hopefully you enjoyed the interview and some lessons learned. And as always, we're inspired and educated on small business and entrepreneurship and what it looks like. Some great conversations here. Listen back about hospitality and taking the leap, and really not being afraid to craft a lifestyle around your business that works for you, for your family, for your relationships, and does some really great things for your community and for the world. So Dan and Amy have been a great example of that. So we hope that you'll tune in again next time. We'd love your rating and review, and sure appreciate you coming around. Join us next time on the Main Street Reimagined podcast. Thanks for listening to the Main Street Reimagined podcast. To learn more about Main Street Reimagined, Henry Development Group, or our work in downtown Marion, Ohio, please visit mainstreetreimagined.com. If you want to connect, or if you know someone who we need to interview, shoot us an email at info@mainstreetreimagined.com. Until next time, keep dreaming and don't be afraid to take the leap.